We are surrounded by supernatural beings, like the devil or even angels. Angels really exist or not? Stay until the end of this video to find out. There are moments in life when we are in danger but you come out of it unscathed. Also discover people who went through this experience who had the opportunity to be saved or even see an angel, so say your like and subscribe to the channel because this video deserves it. Can angels take human form and save people? Definitely yes. Those who are curious and have already researched a little about the subject, know that there is an angelic hierarchy and that some of these beings work very closely with humanity, being able to become visible in any way they wish. As part of their mission to protect humans, there are many accounts of people claiming to have been saved and rescued by savior angels. They show up when we need it most, like a miracle, to save us. Savior Angels reports fire at the Joelma building. 45 years ago, the Joelma building in Sao Paulo caught fire, killing 188 people and leaving more than 300 injured. But that fateful day also had its miracles. Saving angels were seen and responsible for rescuing some people, as happened with Osorio Goncalves and William Conceição Ferraz. It's impressive. Osorio Goncalves is one of the survivors of that tragic day. He worked as an accountant in the building and says he was saved by a child, who appeared out of nowhere in front of him indicating the way out. "I was saved thanks to spiritual help," says Osorio. Stunned by the smoke and paralyzed by the shock of the situation, Osorio ran to the stairs and went down 3 floors when he found a group of people running up the stairs. That's when the child appeared, calmed Osorio down and told him where he should go: stay on that floor to save himself. And that's what Osorio did. William Conceição Ferraz, now a pastor, is also a survivor of the fire and says he was saved by an angel. At the time of the tragedy, William was only 16 years old and an office boy. He went to get a check from the building, and when he was there, the fire started. When he saw the flames, the smoke and the rush, he felt weak and fell to the ground. As he was already an evangelical, he remembers that he immediately prayed to God and asked for his life, and that's when an angel appeared in the middle of the smoke and reached out to William. The angel took him to the door of the only elevator that still worked, which saved William, as he managed to go down to the ground floor. Massacre in Carandiru. Marco Antonio de Moura was imprisoned in Carandiru, Sao Paulo's former prison, when the famous massacre took place. He cheated death twice, first when there was a shootout, then when the survivors were rounded up. He recalls that he managed to evade the gunfire despite being shot at. After the situation was under control, the survivors were taken to the courtyard and the police ordered the detainees who were injured to raise their arms. Marco Antonio tells that he heard an angel tell him, "Don't raise your arm." He then became quiet, even wounded. That's what saved his life. The prisoners who were wounded and raised their hands, were never seen again. Angels of Mons, World War I. There was a battle in World War I at Mons in Germany. The British had lost the battle and were retreating when they were blocked and threatened with death by German cavalry. What happened next has spawned numerous books and articles, and to this day remains unexplained. German horses panicked and fled, thus, for no apparent reason, which freed the passage of the English. German accounts tell of an army of angels hovering in the sky, just above the English. Saving angels carried long bows pointed at the Germans, and that's what scared the horses and paralyzed all the soldiers there. Thus, all the English managed to leave Mons alive. Miracle of Coqueville. The experience in Coqueville was so strong that it became a film that tells this tragic episode, but with a happy ending. On May 16, 1986, in the small ranching community of Coqueville, an elementary school was invaded by an armed couple who took students and teachers hostage. There were many weapons in the place, in addition to bombs. All were closed in a room where they suffered many threats. After a few hours of horror, the first bomb exploded, miraculously hitting only the criminal couple. All children and teachers managed to save themselves, despite the rush and panic that settled in the room after the explosion. The curious thing is that, in addition to nobody being hurt by the explosion, after the event many children began to report supernatural things that happened in the room. A woman in white had appeared and saved many children. She guided them, protected them, and some of the children were led by the hand to the window to escape the smoke. Many children saw this woman, although no adults noticed her. The most interesting thing is that the children's reports coincide with the woman's description. Surely, an angel was there protecting those children, leaving even the most skeptical parents awestruck, as well as eternally grateful for the miracle they received. Accident in Missouri. This case is really impressive, as the angel was noticed not only by Katie, but also by the rescue team. Katie Lentz, 19, was driving down a road in Missouri when she was in a serious accident. A drunk driver crossed the lane and went the wrong way, hitting Katie's car head-on. The blow was so strong that the car was badly damaged and Katie was trapped in the wreckage. Rescue was triggered by people passing through the region and quickly arrived at the scene. However, even with the effort, the tools they had could not cut through the twisted iron to remove Katie. It was a race against time as she had lost a lot of blood and the speed of medical attention would mean life or death for Katie. It was then that, out of nowhere, a man appeared with very unusual clothes. He wore long black clothes, looking like a priest. He walked in front of the rescuers, said that help had arrived and asked everyone to pray. Raymond Reed, head of the fire rescue team, said the man was very calm and was carrying a bottle of oil. When he spoke, a sense of calm took over the environment and it did us a lot of good. I can't say exactly what words he used, but we are sure that he asked us to calm down and that our work tools would take him out of the vehicle. It was an old car, with a very strong structure, and with the shock we needed to cut the multiple layers of pressed metal, rather than just one layer as usual, said Reed. Then another team arrived with newer tools, enough to cut through the layers of iron and remove Katie, who was immediately taken to the hospital. Everything went very quickly and when the team realized it, the mystery man had simply disappeared. There was no sound from a vehicle, nor was anyone seen in the vicinity. The road had been blocked and no car or pedestrian could have made it to the accident without being seen by the police. To complete the mystery, rescuers noticed that the power cables formed the image of a cross on the road near the crash site. To the firefighters and Katie's family, it was the sign of an angel. Katie was saved by a saving angel. Missing the way. This story happened in Jacareí, São Paulo. Lillian Martins and her husband were traveling by car, with their 3-year-old daughter in the backseat. They did not find the signpost and took the wrong path, so they decided to go back to the stretch they got wrong. That's when they came across a horrible accident on the road, which happened at the exact moment they would be passing by, if they hadn't diverted the path by taking the wrong route due to the absence of the sign. The most curious thing is that when they returned, there was the sign. And without being asked, the child began to say that there was an angel covering the sign. Police angel. In Minas Gerais, a woman reports that she was traveling from Rio de Janeiro to Belo Horizonte, when she was surprised by a very heavy rain. Frightened, she stopped the car at an abandoned post on the highway, to shelter from the rain. Afraid, she remembers that she prayed a lot while in the car. Once the rain had passed, she tried to start the car, but it just wouldn't start. It was then that a policeman appeared, extremely helpful and calm, who offered help and took the son who accompanied the woman to a nearby mechanic. Turns out no one in the area had seen that cop before, not even the mechanic. He was never seen again. It was certainly an angel who appeared there, in a moment of distress, to provide help. Elderly running. This case was recorded on video and can be found on the internet. In Sorocaba, an 87-year-old man is walking down the street when he decides to cross. This elderly man was Flavio Bozola, a fervent Catholic devoted to Our Lady and a great believer in angels. As he crosses, he is hit by a bus and ends up under the vehicle's wheel. The video is impressive. When the video was examined more calmly, one can clearly see a shadow crossing the path of the elderly person seconds before the accident, as if changing his position. Family members even believe it was an angel, as Flavio Bozola survived the terrible accident, despite his advanced age. Car removal by an angel. Writer Tracy Stadler claims to have been saved from an accident by an angel. The story yielded a book, called Angels in the Fire. Tracy and her husband Dan were driving when they were hit by a speeding drunk driver. The car was destroyed and the couple trapped in the hardware. She remembers that she still remained conscious for a short period of time, even feeling the smoke from the leather that covered the interior of the burning car, in addition to the smell of her own skin burning. Drivers passing by the scene stopped to help and managed to break the front window and remove Dan. Tracy remembers that she began to pray, as she was sure she would die from the fire, as she would not be pulled out in time. As she prayed, she looked up and that's when she saw the angel. He simply picked her up and she went with him, carried away from the accident. She knew that she had left the body. There was no pain, only anticipation. At one point, Tracy remembered that she needed to go back to raise her daughter, and then she says they started to go down. She said that upon returning to her body, she heard the rescue team comment that they had seen a man come out of the bush and go to the car. Her husband, Dan, confirmed the account, and they saw him get closer and closer to the car and he seemed to have a glow about him. And at the same time, there was another man who was behind all of this happening. This man was praying fervently for our rescue and recovery. One of the rescuers managed to pull Tracy out, and one of the rescuers says this mystery man leaned over her and put his hands over her face, and said, "Take care of Tracy." It turns out that, until that moment, no one knew their names. There was no way that man would know Tracy's name. We are never alone, even in the face of the worst event. If it is not our time to leave, whatever happens, we will be saved, even if an angel descends from heaven and becomes human for that. Miracles like this happen all the time, but unfortunately, they don't get the attention they deserve. Only the most attentive hearts can receive the divine grace to perceive the action of these angels and strengthen their faith even more. And you? Do you have any similar experience? Have you ever felt the presence of an angel? Tell to if you liked the video, leave your like and subscribe to the channel.